Once again, I am CapnTrippz, and we are about to go run down some of the news stories that took place in March 2025. Like I said before, we've got stories about curing sickle cell. We've got Forever 21 going out of business. We got some business news with Ben and Jerry's and 23andMe, and then we go into what the administration got going on, which will probably take up a good little chunk of it. But I appreciate y'all all for tuning in. I really do appreciate you for coming through to stream, or if you're viewing on YouTube, you guys can do either or. Make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button and become part of this community. Would love to have you guys around here, as long as you got some sense, because some people don't. Y'all know who y'all are. But let's go ahead and get this thing on started. I think we should start out with something triumphant. I kind of feel like triumphant. I guess that's how we would. Yeah. Long Island man is first in New York history to be cured of sickle cell anemia. A patient on Long Island is the first in New York to be cured of sickle cell anemia. Doctors say they credit state-of-the-art genetic treatment. For 21 years, Sebastian Beauzile suffered chronic pain from debilitating sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell was like a blockade for me, but now it's just like a wall that I jumped over. He said he's now making medical history in New York State. They talk about, hey, future is here. Blessed to be able to be the first ones to offer this groundbreaking Lyfgenia treatment. Used Beauzile's own bone marrow and IV transfusions to create normal red blood cells. In the United States, sickle cell anemia most commonly affects people of African, Mediterranean, and Middle Eastern descent. Cohen's Children's Medical Center hopes to target those communities with his life-altering therapy. Are we going to be able to get into the meat a little bit? So, for those that don't know, I guess we just go into some background. Like to keep it real, run of the mill here. So sickle cell is a group of hemoglobin-related blood disorders that are typically inherited. Sickle cell anemia results in an abnormality in the oxygen-carrying protein hemoglobin. Is it hemoglobin? I don't know what the AE. Found in red blood cells. This leads to the red blood cells adopting an abnormal sickle-like shape under certain circumstances. With this shape, they're unable to deform as they pass through capillaries, causing blockages. So here they have, images of normal red blood cells and normal hemoglobin. The abnormal sickle blood cells now are shaped like this, and they block up the arteries there. So, causing pain to the people who suffer with sickle cell anemia. An attack can be set off by temperature changes, stress, dehydration, and high altitude. Interesting. A person with a single abnormal copy does not usually have symptoms and is said to have sickle cell trait. Okay. Such people are also referred to as carriers. Diagnosis is by a blood test. In some countries, test all babies at birth for the disease. Diagnosis is also possible during pregnancy. Interesting. So New York having the first cured case of sickle cell anemia in the state. I wonder, what's the numbers for just nationally? They got gene therapy. So it started in 2014. Patients were successfully treated. Then in 2023, both Casgevy and Lyfgenia, which we just talked about a moment ago, were approved for the treatment of sickle cell disease. Interesting. Kendrick Cromer in October 2024. So this is just a couple months ago. Became the first commercial case in the USA to receive gene therapy and was discharged from Children's National Hospital. So there's that. This is one of those diseases that have some wild ass history to it. Do they have anything about the history of it? They know what it is, obviously, and kind of how it onsets. Yeah, I don't know if it says much about like how it came to be, but 80% of sickle cell disease cases are believed to occur in sub-Saharan Africa. That's crazy. It also occurs to a lesser degree among people in parts of India, Southern Europe, West Asia, North Africa, and among people of African origin living in other parts of the world. The condition was first described in the medical literature by James B. Herrick in 1910, and it was seen to be transmitted genetically in 1949. In 54, it was established that the abnormal gene was protected to some degree against malaria. Okay, so you can't get malaria? I mean, I guess that's good, but also I wonder if that has anything to do with the start of it. But yeah, shout out. That's a good news out in this world with the crazy shit going on, man. Like not good news, but crazy shit going on. Forever 21 filing for bankruptcy again, plans to close all U.S. stores. So this is a conversation to be had about private equity coming in to a business and just trying to pull as much profit from the business as possible. I wonder if they don't go into detail with this article. Yeah, so this article just came out. Partners for Dignity and Rights. What do workers at Forever 21 have in common with Guatemalan garment workers at Industrial Hana Factory? They've both been left in the lurch by private equity and a web of holding companies led by Authentic Brands Group and Catalyst Brands, formerly the Spark Group. Now, I've heard of the Spark Group back in my day trading days. This was something I'd heard about, but it's interesting to see what's happening in the zeitgeist. Forever 21 first filed for bankruptcy in 2019. The company was bought out of bankruptcy in 2020 by a group that included Authentic Brands, Brookfield Property Partners, Simon Property Group. This group purchased Forever 21 for $81 million. The new owners split the company in two. One entity took over the IP, licensed it to the other, which ran its operations. So even just that, the intellectual property of Forever 21 being licensed to Forever 21 to be used, it's all right, what? And the things that people will do to end up gaining profit, paying themselves, it's all a game. There were $40 million in unpaid orders shipped since the bankruptcy filing, and literally hundreds of millions of dollars more in unpaid claims. But then the bankruptcy deal went through with just $53 million set aside to cover unpaid merchandise. So yeah, it goes into details about Brookfield and Simon being two of the largest owners of mall properties and their biggest landlords. Their interest in the deal was clear: keep one of their anchor tenants from leaving cavernous vacancies in shopping malls they own across the United States. Both Simon and Brookfield have lobbied Congress to relax limits on how many of their tenants' real estate investment trusts, or REITs, can own, among other rules. So that's something to look forward to. Just a lot of things changing. Just in these days, I feel like everything's up for sale, especially with the administration that's in power. They will literally sell anything, including their own ass. Pretty sure it was one of those that they tested in black people. Well, if you can find some information, please do so. Share it with the group. Yeah, man, it's just all bad. I mean, Forever 21, it's not like I care about Forever 21. I never literally ever went shopping there. But it's just the rules of the game seem to be changing. And it's benefiting the people who already have all the chips. And in order for them to get more chips, Distressed because it was already milk dry. Correct. I feel like Forever 21 again was something that was in malls everywhere when I was coming up in my young adulthood. Generations change over, my dog. Like, women my age are not still shopping at Forever 21 because they are not Forever 21. We're closer to 42 at this point in time. So I expect their tastes evolve. And so what that means is I feel like with every generation, you have to adapt to what's going on. Now, I don't mean that Forever 21 got to go fast fashion, but they got to figure out a way to compete with fast fashion. And I feel like I don't know if they ever like updated their imagery and their iconography and everything else that they stood for to try to even appeal to Gen Z. Hell, they may not have had the room to do that. Because as rents rise, I would imagine rents are also rising in those mall spaces, especially for those anchor spots in the mall. So I don't know. To me, it just seems like they went out of business, like businesses do when you're not able to pivot and get prepared for what's to come. It wasn't fast fashion like Zara. Like Zara is literally a case study in fast fashion. Like when I was in grad school, Zara is literally a case study that we studied how it revolutionized fast fashion. So yeah, Forever 21 might have fast fashion, but do they have the fastest fashion? And once faster fashion became a thing, why couldn't they get faster and leaner? So it's one of those things, man. We just gonna have to keep it moving, and just get ready for everything that's coming our way. Things are gonna change. There's going to be companies that we grew up with all of our lives that are going to go out of business. And also some companies that have always operated in a specific sense and specific direction that's going to change dramatically. Case in point, we've got Ben & Jerry's CEO fired over political activism, company claims. Now, if y'all even tangentially know anything about Ben & Jerry's, Ben & Jerry's has always been a company that has been very vocal in their support for like social efforts or inequalities anywhere in the world, environmentalism. They are really one of those companies where you feel comfortable buying their products because if you're in tune with their politics, or if you at least know of the company, you know what that company stands for. That has always been the case all my life until March 2025. Ice cream company Ben & Jerry's said its chief has been fired for social activism. And it's owned by Unilever. Unilever is, again, one of these companies that they own everything. I could pull out a little companies that own everything. Let's just go. And let me pop up in the chat. Knit says they had got really terrible quality in the end, though. Like clothes not even lasting past the wash. Like Forever 21, or are we talking about Zara? Because I will say I've had some Zara and H&M stuff that maybe lasted a season and it ain't getting no. Oh, Forever 21. Oh yeah, nah. Companies did, but those companies are Shein and Temu. And Shein and Temu are probably some of the worst. Because that shit is not even safe for you, dog. They said they found chemicals on the clothes. On the clothes. So these companies own everything that we buy. Johnson & Johnson, PepsiCo, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Mars, Coca-Cola, Mondelez, Kraft Heinz, General Mills, Kellogg's, Comcast, BlackRock, Nestle, Danone, and Berkshire Hathaway. So Nestle owns all these brands, and some of these are international brands, so Americans may not really know what Milo is, but shout out to all my immigrant homies because they're the reason I know what Milo is. Gerber, we all know what Gerber is. Carnation, Kit Kat, Nescafe, Alpo. Again, these are some just brands that Americans would know. Johnson & Johnson, Aveeno, Tylenol, Motrin, Nicorette, Stay Free, Band-Aid, Neutrogena, Listerine, Carefree. I don't know what the fuck this Zarbies is, but that may be something international. PepsiCo, Brisk, Doritos, Ocean Spray, Pure Leaf, Ruffles, Cheetos, Gatorade, Lay's, Pepsi, Tostitos. And we can keep going down the list. P&G owns any kind of cleaning shit that you can even think of. Vicks. How y'all own all the cleaning shit in Vicks? Unilever owns Axe, Vaseline. Is that Magnum, Ollie, Ben and Jerry's? As you see, Dove, Walls, 7th Generation, Sunsilk. You got Mars here, and the brands they own. They own Snickers, M&M's, Iams, Dove, Kind, Juicy Fruit, Winter Fresh. Coke owns all these. Interesting. Coke owns Fairlife. Mondelez owns Cadbury, Honey Maid, Oreo, Ritz, Wheat Thins, Triscuit, Tate's, Hall's, Chips Ahoy, Wheat Thins. Well, they got Wheat Thins twice. Kraft Heinz, Jell-O, Kool-Aid, Kraft, obviously, Mac and Cheese, Smart Ones, Velveeta, Classico, Philadelphia, Oscar Mayer, Maxwell House, Lunchables, and then General Mills there. So, revenues of $99 billion, revenues of $95 billion, $86 billion, $80 billion. So we can keep going on and going down, but that's just what it is. And they own everything. And even through, these are the biggest brands they own. There's probably a lot more. So going back to the story, and most of these companies share board members, so calling them separate is a joke. And they have very interesting interests. I was reading or absorbing information somewhere a couple months ago, and they said, hey, y'all know when like Philip Morris and them, like they started getting in trouble for cigarettes, they went and put money in food companies. And those food companies are some of these companies that we talking about right here, right now. And these companies are like, again, doing a lot. As y'all may know, GLP-1 is literally everywhere. You can't scroll without being advertised through some companies that weren't even in fitness or fat loss 5 years ago, made a vertical just to be able to sell you that drug, this wonder fat loss drug that was being used for treatment of diabetes. And now it's being sold almost like candy. And the food companies are worried because it changes the way you even think and move about food because you're buying less food. So obviously the food companies are wanting you to buy more food. So they're trying to develop food that moves past the mental blockers in your brain that GLP-1 puts into place to prevent you from wanting to eat as much as you may have eaten in the past. Is that all not weird? When do we trip into the brave new world? It gets really weird. Vicks made from the cleanest shit. Yeah, we know. When you said Kraft, an ad appeared for 1,000 Island dressing on Amazon below you. Yeah, you see how it works. What's up, Chrome? How you doing? Welcome on in. So yeah, why it matters. There's been an ongoing tension between Ben & Jerry's and its parent company Unilever about Ben & Jerry's long tradition of progressive politics. The issue plays into a wider narrative about whether smaller independent companies can retain their values after they're purchased by a much larger corporation. Ben & Jerry's is branded as a company with close ties to progressive hippie culture. They always have. When launched by Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield in the late 70s, the company had a rule that the top earning executives could only earn 5 times the amount of the lowest earning worker. Usually, it's a way crazier ratio. That moved to 7-1 and 17-1 and was eventually abandoned when Unilever purchased the company in 2000. 25 years. As part of the merger agreement, Ben & Jerry's was allowed to keep its hippie alternative brand and identity. Ben & Jerry's has filed a breach of contract lawsuit against Unilever in Manhattan, claiming that Unilever is repeatedly silencing Ben & Jerry's from issuing any statements seen as progressive, pro-Palestinian, or anti-Trump. There's a lot of that going around. They filed a complaint in which it claims that Unilever fired Ben & Jerry's chief executive, David Stever, in early March because Stever was trying to advance Ben & Jerry's progressive social mission. Stever had been with Ben & Jerry's for over 30 years. It's also accused Unilever of trying to stop it from issuing any public statement against Trump or releasing a pecan resist ice cream that was marketed to people who dislike Trump. So y'all don't even want to sell the ice. Y'all are an ice cream company saying, hey, we're not going to come out with this ice cream that not only probably also tastes good, but probably would sell a lot of money. You make a lot of money because people don't fuck with this nigga. What up, Buddha? What are you doing? What's happening, brother? I'm glad you good, man. I'm glad you good. What's happening? I see that you're up, just like up, about to watch the sunrise if it hasn't already. I hope you're good. I hope you're at peace. I hope you've been having a hell of a great time in your ancestral homeland. And let me know when you bake that cake. Unilever said, if we're not making money, you're not allowed to make it either. Shit, I would feel like they would want to make money. It also alleges that Ben & Jerry's wanted to release an anti-Trump statement in time for his inauguration, but was blocked by Peter Telkeleve, Unilever's president of ice cream. I think that's a job I wouldn't want to have. I would want to be the president of ice cream. Can I be the president of a fruit juice or some shit? Like, I think I'll take that. Let me do that job. I'll text you about it later. About to jump in the pool. That sounds good. So they have a private relationship, it seems, with those guys. Those guys. And the thing about it is, I feel like whether it be support or activism when it comes down to your company as a result of moving along political lines, it's only your own fault. Like we talked about the Target thing last month, and I kind of feel like it's only your fault, Target, because you moved in such an aggressive manner to go kowtow to these people that you literally gave up one of your biggest demographics. And y'all should have that information. I'm a civilian and I know niggas fuck with Target. And y'all was like, nah, we're going to give y'all one Black History Month commercial during the Super Bowl and you'll never see it again. And that's about all you get. And it's like, well, that's not working out. I think we're like 12 billion, 15 billion down so far. But also, when people want to mob on your company and keep shit from happening, you can't control that either. Over 200 Tesla takedown protests take place throughout the United States on the global day of action against Elon Musk's role with DOGE. Look at this. The fear and greed index. Extreme fear is driving the U.S. market. I don't get what the end goal is if it ain't to crash everything. But either or. Hundreds of Tesla takedown demonstrations are taking place in the United States, Canada, and Europe as activists ramp up their opposition to CEO Elon Musk's efforts to slash federal government staffing and budgets. Since joining the Trump administration, aggressively pushed policies to reduce spending, curb regulations, and downsize the workforce. I feel like y'all are understanding that CNN is one of those companies that decided they want to kiss the ring. So they are sane washing a lot of the shit that's going on where 20% of the federal workforce within this year, within the last couple months, is rumored to be out. 20% in 2 months. That's not a lot in a little time to people. Either or. Yeah, I gotta hit you on WhatsApp. I know. I gotta download it again. I meant to do that earlier today, but I got caught off with some stuff at work. Yeah, they've been bowed down. Yeah, they've been bowed down. So yeah, 200 demonstrations plans that at Tesla locations this past Saturday. And it's just so crazy. This man he didn't run for no office and he's in charge of a lot of shit. Some people were there to support federal workers. Some people just don't fuck with Elon. And they're trying to make messing with Teslas a federal crime. Like, we are fully leaning into oh, there must be two sides of what's going on here. We're gonna protect our interests so fervently that like you'll get the death penalty if you burn up a Tesla, but you can actually do fuck shit and circumvent it. It's really, really weird. Really weird. And the thing about the Teslas is, I don't know if y'all seen, people are trying to put like Toyota plating on the Teslas, or I bought this car before I knew Elon was crazy. Nah, he always been crazy. You must not have been paying attention. But I also understand that Teslas are a very popular car. I wanted a Tesla truck up until they came out, and I was like, oh, that's ugly. They ain't even gonna make it look like nothing else. The Rivian lettering, it's been all kind of shit. And it's like, I hope Rivian sales are going up. Are there facts and figures about that? I used to own Rivian stock. I might need to buy it again. Okay. The Rivian R1S broke into the top 5 best-selling EVs this past month. They're cementing their status as a true luxury EV brand. See, and that's the issue. I don't want a luxury EV. I just want an EV, my dog. I just don't want a Honda or a Toyota. But it may have to be what that is. The Rivian R1S was the 5th best-selling EV by sales volume, trailing only the Model Y from Tesla, the Model 3, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which is ugly as shit, and the Honda Prologue. What does that look like? Tesla sales dipped 10%, with the Cybertruck and the Model 3 seeing the biggest drops from last year. I just want to see what this looks like. Okay, that's not ugly. That's not ugly. I don't know. I don't want an SUV. But I don't know. Like, I don't want a big car. People with Teslas have been trading them in mass. I feel like I see chats with Tesla trades all the time now. Yeah, because they don't want nobody to shit on their car. Like, I don't know. I might see a Tesla somewhere and just like want to piss on it. You'll have to look to get a hybrid, to be honest. Hybrids still have buttons too. So that is the thing. I don't want to operate a computer while I'm driving. I honestly don't even want like to be able to like, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep and the car drive itself. I don't want none of that shit. Just give me something where I'm not gonna be blowing fumes everywhere. Give me something that, you know, over time, my impact on the world around me is smaller than it would if I had a gas powered car. Because I do think the next vehicle I want to purchase will have some kind of electric component to it. Wild times. DNA testing site 23andMe files for bankruptcy protections. Now, my old name on Instagram used to be Conspiracy Brother, because you know to behold that pale horse. You know what I'm saying? But I had to lay the mantle down at a certain point. But this has always been something I've been very passionate about. Like, while I would want to do an ancestry test, I would not ever do one through 23andMe or Ancestry.com. Like, there's one company that does like African ancestry, and their test is expensive as shit. And they got 2 different tests, one for your patrilineal lineage and one for your matrilineal lineage. And it's like, dog, I gotta spend $1,600 to find out where my people from holistically. 23andMe said, hey, we'll give it to you for $70. And I'm like, that's just such a vast difference, bruh. $70 to $1,600. There's not no middle option where the privacy still is an issue. Because that's the thing with 23andMe. They had your shit and they could do what they wanted with it. A couple of years ago, I think during the COVID years, we had I forget what the name of the documentary was, but it was a documentary about like the Night Stalker from California. Trigger warning. He was a serial killer who invaded people's homes, assaulted people, tied people up, killed people. He escalated over time and wreaked havoc over Southern California. And that was in like the 60s, 70s, 80s time period. And then he just stopped. So after you stop and there's nothing new to go on, really the case turns cold, obviously. And it just so happens in the teens, 20 teens, all this shit gets popular. So a woman decides that she wants to do a Ancestry.com or a 23andMe. And she submits her DNA. And what was it, the FBI or the local or the state police? They gave a little bing. We got a hit. Not a direct hit like this person, because they had DNA, but they couldn't process it at the time. But somewhere in the vicinity, so a close relative of theirs. So after doing a little bit of investigation, cross-referencing, they found the guy, and they got like a soda can, and they confirmed it was him, and they captured him. And I remember that story being a thing, and when they had it in the documentary, it was just wild to see it all come around. Turns out it was a former cop, but he would have got away with murders and sexual assaults if it wouldn't have been for these DNA tests. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good, that them going to prison is a bad thing, because it's not. Fuck them. But for everybody else that is now caught in this web, what does that mean for you? And once you submit it, they have it. Can you make them get rid of it? All of these implications of your privacy that go into, what is a convenient thing. Because again, the central problem being, I want to know where I'm from. So what do I do about that? And the option that I'm being left with is spending the $1,600 for a company that I say, hey, bro, you say the word, we'll destroy that shit immediately. We'll destroy your DNA sample immediately, and it won't go nowhere, no database, nowhere. Because this had been a problem that I had thought about for a while, but I had not even thought it was going to ever get this bad, where 23andMe files for bankruptcy protection, and announced that its founder and co-CEO or co-founder and CEO resigned with immediate effect. The company will now attempt to sell itself under the supervision of a court. So if the company that houses all this DNA sells itself, in effect, are they not selling your genetic material and identification and markers? And one of the scenarios that could arise from a company getting this information is, one of the things they can detect is like if you have any disorders or genetic disorders or propensity for diseases. So imagine a company has your DNA, can tell that you might be in the ballpark for a specific disease, and they give that information to your insurance company. They give that information to, I don't know, a drug company who may just have what you may need if that happens. And 23andMe selling themselves as like a company that has products that you buy on a shelf, when we know that's not the case. The product is you and your information. So they go into the highest bidder now. 23andMe said in a press release that it plans to continue operating throughout the sale process, and there are no changes to the way the company stores, manages, or protects customer data. But once you sell yourself, you're not the one in charge of that anymore. I just don't know, man. The company's value was pushed as high as $6 billion, but it's been struggling for survival. Company went public in 2021, but has never turned a profit. and then it just settled its lawsuit saying that it failed to protect the privacy of nearly 7 million customers whose personal information was exposed in a data breach in 2023. And that's what sank y'all. The inability to protect customers, even as your own company. And now we selling you to the highest bidder. In some cases, hackers gain access to family trees, birth years, and geographic locations by using customers' old passwords. The company says that no DNA records were stolen, but I kind of feel like family trees, birth years, and geographic locations is a lot. They don't care they're Israeli owned. It was a money front. It's crazy out here. Before we get into the muck and the mess in the White House, let's just all take a deep breath. Because it's a lot of mess. So the biggest news to me that happened this past month is this story here. Now, as a person who has worked with some adjacency to the government, I can't tell you how serious operational security is. It's preached to you. I was just a motherfucker coming up with copy for ads, for billboard ads, for websites, for pop-up ads on a website. They went back in my personal history just to make sure that I could not be like a spy. Just to do that. Had a computer that I needed to insert an ID into in order to connect to a demarcated network. Just so, you know, and where you couldn't communicate with other people on other networks through the simplest things like a Teams or sometimes even email was delayed because the things are set up a certain way. And we'll also talk about that later, because another one of these stories is they plan to rework all of the digital footprint of the government in a month. And it's like, that's not happening, brother. That's not happening. Number one, including the journalist in the group chat and talking about war plans is a big deal. Don't let them tell you it's not. It is a big deal. Number two, not using a centralized and approved method of communication to do so is a big deal. And don't let nobody tell you it's not a big deal. The fact that they didn't know that nigga was in there for some days and he ain't say shit. He just was able to get messages and he removed himself. It ain't like he got caught. It's not like, who is this nigga? He removed himself. He's like, oh, I gotta go. And then also, the fact that a person in this chat was in Russia during the time this conversation was happening. And within the past 3 to 5 years, Russia has attempted to and or hacked Signal. It's some fuckery going on, dog. Like, I really don't care what part of the spectrum of U.S. politics you're on. If you ever are a person who claims to have the country's best interest in your mind, If you took the name, stripped the name away from the actions, and it was just a story about, hey, this person did this, that happened, and this happened, and all these things were at risk, you would be calling for someone's head. But because it's your dude, you're really not tripping. And that's what I don't understand. Like, it's a lot of like hawk motherfuckers like, oh, I would never let nobody do nothing to put the U.S. Y'all are doing it. Y'all are letting these people put the country at risk. Like, it's a lot happening at one time. It's a lot happening at one time. And it's almost like herding cats. This is happening at the same time. We are literally losing our standing in the world, if you believe in those things, based off of like how this dude is moving. Political isolation has ever helped anyone win throughout the annals of history. Please tell me when. Dial says, Signal got all this free advertising. The biggest story of this is the U.S. is going to war. Yeah. They've not hacked Signal. They hacked Telegram. Telegram is not end-to-end encrypted either. Okay. Days after the Signal leak, the Pentagon warned the app was the target of hackers. OPSEC Special Bulletin F9T53, unclassified for official use only. A vulnerability has been identified in the Signal Messenger application, begins the department-wide email dated the 18th and obtained by NPR. The memo continues, Russian professional hacking groups are employing the linked devices features to spy on encrypted conversations. It notes that Google has identified Russian hacking groups that are targeting Signal Messenger to spy on persons of interest. Moreover, a memo in 2023 obtained by NPR, hey, nah, bro, get off here. Obtained by NPR, warned of using Signal for any non-public official information. I think the conversation about bombing people is official information. I think the comments that you're making about allies, it's not official, but when leaked to the general public is detrimental to the case that you're trying to make for your allies, with your allies, when you want to stand with them and do some shit. Like, it's not enough that they're dumb. They're dumb and ill-willed and mean-spirited. And I just don't know how anybody embraces that. The people that they will embrace are people that I feel like 10, 15 years ago, we would probably be like, oh yeah, actually we don't fuck with these people at all. And it's just an interesting move to move. They're setting fires, watching them burn, and making plans to benefit from what comes from it all. Yeah, Chrome, that's 100% it. And we'll continue going down this hole. The U.S. is no longer an ally. That's what the EU thinks now. 1,000%. Even like the shit with Canada. Canada was like, hey, that time where we was like locked in with each other and we was one band, one sound through this bitch and moving in unison. Time is over. Time is over. This was a big deal. Don't let them people tell you it was not. This is a 23-minute listen if you ever wanted to listen to the story. I support journalism, so I say do so. I just like this lead that they had. The world found out shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March 15th that the United States was bombing Houthi targets across Yemen. I, however, knew 2 hours before the first bombs exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, had texted me with the war plan at 11:44 a.m. The plan included precise information about weapons packages, targets, and timing. This is going to require some explaining. Yeah. And then this person, what's his name? Jonathan Goldman, Jeffrey Goldberg. Sorry, my bad. He tells this whole tale of how he just got added to a group, dog. They got added to a group. He sets up the Houthis, who are an Iran-backed terrorist organization that attacked Israel and made attacks on international shipping lanes, creating havoc for global trade. And let's understand that global trade has been disrupted by the Houthis. And they want to put an end to that. Who's in charge here, man? The gears of capitalism keep turning. I ain't going to go deep on it, though. March 11th, he received a connection request on Signal from a user identified as Michael Waltz. He explains what Signal is. He assumed that Michael Waltz was President Donald Trump's national security advisor. But he ain't think that Michael Waltz was actually trying to connect with him. He accepted the request, hoping it was the actual national security advisor, and that he wanted to chat about Ukraine or Iran or some other important matter. 2 days later, I received a notice that I was to be included in a Signal chat group. It was called the Houthi PC Small Group. And so this whole article just goes into in depth about the protocols of like how these things are supposed to go and how they actually went in this regard. Pictures, nigga. Pictures. I'm talking about it's being participated in. Marco Rubio, MAR, Secretary of State, Marco Antonio Rubio, Mike Needham, JD Vance, and their representatives. So not only these people, but also representatives to run point for them. Tulsi Gabbard, all these people in a group chat sending messages about attack plans. This nigga got screenshots. It says JD Vance is talking to Pete Hegseth. And JD Vance is also bucking against the president, which is something that he's been doing and why he's been in the doghouse this entire time. I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. You sound crazy right now, sir. You sound insane. And also, this man got a picture. He the only one with a picture, dog. And then here comes Stephen Miller, bitch ass. It's crazy. So all this happens. These niggas put emojis as a response to attack plans, to attack confirmations. What's really going on? What's really going on? So that happens, right? Then they're like, hey, man, that didn't happen. He lying. He must have hacked the group to get up in there. But we definitely didn't talk about no classified shit. We definitely didn't do that. He's a liar. He's trying to stir things up. Nothing bad happened. They said that, let's say the article dropped on a Tuesday. They came out Wednesday and said, oh, that never happened. Thursday, before they got grilled in front of Congress again, he said, here are the attack plans. I love it. I actually love the pettiness, dog. And you got to subscribe. So that's really a jug. I get it, Atlantic. I ain't even mad at it. Screenshots. You're lying. Hey, bro, they rallied around those emails for literally a decade now. It's been a decade. And they still talking about Hillary Clinton's emails when she was the Secretary of State. She hooked up a server at the crib so she can get emails without them going over normal traffic. and they were like, you shouldn't have no communication that don't go through any official channels. Now we find ourselves where niggas is sending messages on Signal, which is an app that exists expressly for the purpose of not being able to be intercepted or, encrypted end to end, so no one else can see what you guys are talking about, but you're moving in an official government function. There are checks and balances for everything. All these conversations are supposed to be being had in very secure rooms and on very secure lines with each other where nobody can interrupt. Like, these people literally have these fucking safe rooms in their homes or very much accessible to them, but they're texting each other through Signal. And we're not supposed to be concerned about what the people who are pushing the gears that run the government are talking about in secret that they don't want no record of. This time it was attack plans on someone who is indirectly causing stress to the global economy. It's not bigger fish to fry, big dog. Priorities. Yeah, there was a gift link. I know I got one on the first article. I did not get the gift link on the second article, but again, I think still when people navigate to the actual site and go to this page and they're prompted to either log in or subscribe, I feel like that'll be a way to push numbers regardless. They still talk about those emails to this day. Editor is not a good person, but glad he did put out this info. The Atlantic is not a good newspaper in general. They lean right wing on several things. Okay. Is that not more damning that it wasn't a left publication on the left side of things? Because a lot of these people are kowtowing it. I'm an NPR fan, which I think they want to say is more left leaning, but I kind of feel like it's very central, and they play it fair from my understanding. But just last week, the head of NPR was saying, I apologize for anything negative we've said about President Trump in the past, because they want to be included. They want to kiss the ring because they're literally telling the AP, hey, y'all can't even cover us no more. Y'all can't be on the plane, the train, the automobile, or in the Oval Office. Y'all got to go. And so everybody are like, oh, I don't want that to happen to me, so I better say something nice or at least make shit sound not as crazy as it really is. It's happening everywhere. So IDK. I just think, again, very big story that, again, they're now trying to say, hey, we're past that. No. What if we say no? We're not. What else are y'all fucking talking about? What else y'all got going on? Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what was said, but I'm glad Seriobot is here. So I think more questions should be asked. I think people should be forced to reveal communication, and I think people should go to jail. I know what's going to happen. Like, if anyone's going to got, it's going to be the National Security Advisor, because he's got the least, the smallest name. Pete Hegseth should also go. Everyone really should go. And Marco Rubio is a horrible person. Why am I saying Marco Rubio is a horrible person? He was just talking last week, bro. Because we're now in a time. Yeah, he is. But they're trying to push past it where he don't even get his job taken from him. But that guy, he 100% is a mole. And I felt a way about it because I think he did that on purpose. There's no way you do that on accident. There's no way you add someone to this group chat and then don't ever talk to them. You don't ever reference them. They just so happen to be a journalist, and you just so happen to be having private conversations that shouldn't be happening on Signal. He had to have done that on purpose, and I really just want to understand why. What's going on? What up, Grayson? We talking about that news, man, but I appreciate you pulling up. How you doing? So yeah, over the last for several weeks, a handful of student visa holders and other legal residents have faced deportation for nebulous allegations that they supported terrorism, often being detained and taken away by immigration officials with seemingly no due process or even an allegation of criminal wrongdoing. I know we be in this bitch fighting, bro. I don't know. I that shit is just insane to me. It's the fact that they put their masks on. All she did was write an op-ed, bro. She wrote an article. She wrote an article, and she's not from here. And Rubio tried to equivocate that to on-campus protests that got out of hand. Earlier this month, immigration officials seized Mahmoud Khalil, a green card holder, and the leader of student protests at Columbia. Khalil was taken to Louisiana and is currently legally challenging the Trump administration's attempt to deport him. Not only is he a green card holder, he's married to an American citizen. Double times over, I think that he's good, but they're basically saying they're stripping away citizenship. That's what it looks like if you don't toe the line. And it's not just support of Israel. It's coming out and so against Ukraine, like anything that you've said that has been against the actions of the government, they're using that as a reason to revoke these people's opportunity to advance their lives, their careers. They come here to study and they say, nope, all that is over because you said something. You're using your First Amendment rights, but you actually don't have them because you weren't born here. And I think that that's a very slippery slope. Sipping some whiskey after a morning dip in the pool. Hey, must be nice. I love it. I love it. Take a shot for me, my dog. Yeah, so that's exactly what that means, Ace. Like, because I don't think that they're just going to stop there. They're going to try to go as far as they can. Like, it's a lot of shit happening. They are literally disappearing people overnight. Marco Rubio says he's revoked 300 student visas over campus activism. What's going on? What's going on? Rubio's move to personally revoke the visas of legal residents is part of a broader plan to catch and revoke the legal statuses of student activists and other individuals who engage in pro-Palestine or otherwise vaguely pro-terrorism speech. The effort involves AI-assisted reviews of tens of thousands of student visa holders' social media accounts. We are in the police state. They are disappearing people on the street in broad daylight. It doesn't matter if you're a student activist or literally an Oscar winner. A group of settlers just lynched Hamdan Bilal, co-director of the documentary No Other Land that won the Oscar this past year. They beat him and he has injuries in his head and stomach, bleeding. Soldiers invaded the ambulance he called and took him. There was no sign of him up until this point on the 24th. Where is he now? Let's find out if we can find out. Hamdan Bilal has been freed after being handcuffed all night and beaten in a military base. Hamdan Bilal is now free and is about to go home to his family. They can just kidnap you, beat you, and then release you because you expose their hypocrisy. You expose the monstrosity that they call society under their rule. People are disappearing in broad daylight, bro. That's the thing that can happen. So she is in one of the most dangerous prisons because We rounded up a whole bunch of people that we said were in a gang, and we basically shepherded them into a whole nother country overnight. And I'm trying to understand how that's a thing that could happen. Because y'all ain't even talked to nobody to confirm. Like, even if they were all gang members, that doesn't let you deport them without due process. Y'all didn't even confirm that they were gang members before you round them up. There was a dude with an autism ribbon tattoo that they tried to say is a gang tattoo that they rounded up and deported to this El Salvadorian prison. There was a dude with the Real Madrid tattoo who is a youth soccer coach that they deported to an El Salvadorian prison saying he's a gang member. There were people who have never been arrested a day in their life that were rounded up because they had tattoos. Rounded up, kidnapped, shipped to another country. Dial saying kidnapping and human trafficking. That's exactly what it is. Court said, hey, bro, you can't do that. And they just flew them out there anyway and said, oop, our bad, we ain't see that. Here in Georgia, they caught a high-ranking member of that gang. Doing what? Doing what? Due process out the window. This is a joke. Advocates say flawed checklist targets Venezuelans for deportation under archaic wartime act. Immigrants' rights advocates say the U.S. government is using a checklist of unreliable indicators to decide whether Venezuelan men are members of the Tren de Aragua and subject to removal under the Alien Enemies Act, a rarely used wartime law. Wartime law literally only can be used in wartime and against the country you are at war with. The checklist was revealed Friday in court filings in a case brought to the by the ACLU, which challenges the Trump administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act to remove 137 Venezuelan suspected gang members to a maximum security prison in El Salvador. And they don't play down there. They don't play. We basically sold them to another country for slave or cheap labor. We're paying for them to be housed somewhere else. This is supposed to save taxpayers money and keep them safe. The ACLU, in a request for a preliminary injunction, cited several examples of Venezuelan men sent to El Salvador who were accused of being gang members because of their tattoos. They include a professional soccer player with a tattoo of a soccer ball with a crown similar to the Real Madrid Football Club logo. Tren de Aragua is a gang recently designated by the Trump administration as a foreign terrorist organization. Before the Klan. Before the Proud Boys. However, many family members of the accused, as well as their attorneys, deny their loved ones have any affiliation with the gang. The government's checklist suggests that tattoos and other unreliable indicators are playing an enormous role in Venezuelan men ending up in a brutal Salvadorian prison, perhaps for the rest of their lives. Individuals must have a right to contest their designation as gang members, even if this wartime authority can be used during peacetime, which is an issue by itself. Because, again, they're doing a lot of shit that shouldn't be able to be done. The U.S. has not declared war against Yemen, by the way, so that attack is an illegal act of war. 1,000%. 1,000%. The categories 20 observations divided into 6 categories. The categories include judicial outcomes, criminal conduct, and information and symbolism. The checklist assigns point totals to different categories for each immigrant, including subject has tattoos denoting membership loyalty to TDA, and subject displays insignia, logos, notations, drawings, or dress known to indicate allegiance to TDA. Anyone scoring 6 or 7 points may be validated as members of TDA. TDA members have tattoos showing a variety of images, including AK-47s, trains, clocks, crowns, stars, the Jumpman logo. Are y'all serious? Tattoos have become trendy amongst young Venezuelans and Latin Americans. "27-year-old Josue Basto Liscano is believed to be one of the more than 230 Venezuelan men sent to a maximum security prison in El Salvador for being accused of being in this gang." What's going on, bro? What's going on? And it's not just members of Tren de Aragua. This is a barber in Atlanta. I saw this article that was written. It's a paid article, so we're probably not going to be able to read a lot of it. But the lead is that administration has intensified efforts to denaturalize immigrants who have obtained U.S. citizenship, a move that has sparked controversy amongst lawmakers and immigration advocates. The administration argues that these efforts protect the integrity of American citizenships, while critics warn of potential constitutional violations and political targeting. The expansion of denaturalization proceedings marks a dramatic shift from historical norms. Previously, revocation of citizenship was pursued only in cases of fraud or national security threats. However, under dump, the Department of Justice has ramped up investigations, leading to a substantial increase in the number of cases reviewed for possible denaturalization. Everybody's complicit in that. Everybody is. And the thought process is no one would tip the scale as dramatically as this, because people in their right mind, like even if there was someone who wanted to do that, people in their right mind would not vote for that person. It's just I don't know. I can't call it the audacity of hope because that's super ironic. But it is that. It's like, even when confronted with all of the evidence of just who people are these days and what they're about, it's like, nah, it can't get that bad. I would never expect this to happen. And it does. And also, the checks and balances should be checks and balancing. But even they've been corrupted. And so this whole thing, you got to kind of just burn it down and start anew. Fuck both of them. Getting back to y'all boy Elon, DOGE plans to rebuild the Social Security Administration code base in months, risking benefits and system collapse. And this is ultimately, again, a thing that they wanted to do. Safely rewriting that code would take years. DOGE wants it done in months. The systems contain tens of millions of lines of code written in COBOL, an archaic programming language. That's code crazy as fuck. DOGE is starting to put together a team to migrate the SSA computer systems entirely off of one of its oldest programming language in a matter of months, potentially putting the integrity of the system and the benefits on which tens of millions of Americans rely at risk. It's organized by Musk Lieutenant Steve Davis. Aims to migrate all SSA systems off of COBOL, one of the first common business-oriented programming languages, and onto a more modern replacement like Java within a scheduled tight time frame of a few months. Under any circumstances, a migration of this size and scale would be a massive undertaking, experts tell Wired. But the expedited deadline runs the risk of obstructing payments to the more than 65 million people in the U.S. currently receiving Social Security benefits. Of course, one of the big risks is not underpayment or overpayment per se. It's also not paying someone at all and not knowing about it. The invisible errors and omissions. The SSA technologist tells Wired. The SSA did not immediately reply to the request for comment. They received money in 2017 to move away from COBOL, but then because of the pandemic, they pivoted away from that work to focus on more public-facing comments. What up, Wooby? How you doing, love? Yeah. We have 60-year-olds still making six figures because no one fucking knows COBOL. Yep. You mean to tell me six big balls is just going to learn that in months, then tear it down, figure out exactly how it works, then put something up in its place that's going to work seamlessly without any issue in months? When a team of more than 5 to 10 times more people, money, effort, and time weren't able to do that from 2017 to 2020? That's what you mean to tell me? He just got it like that. He's big balls. He just got it like that. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. These niggas crazy, bro. They don't give a fuck what they tear apart. COBOL was created in part in the 50s. That's crazy as shit. It was developed by Grace Hopper, and that page, that website praising Hopper's accomplishments is no longer active, likely following the Trump administration's DEI purge of military acknowledgments. These niggas said, hold on. Trump administration reportedly moves to ban Jackie Robinson biography from the Naval Academy Library. A week after removing, then restoring an article about Jackie Robinson from the Pentagon's website, the Trump administration has reportedly gone back to that well. A biography about Jackie Robinson has been identified as a candidate for removal from the Nimitz Library at the U.S. Naval Academy due to a directive from Pete Hegseth ordering the school to identify books with diversity, equity, and inclusion themes and remove them from circulation. So again, by DEI, they just mean anything with a black person, a brown person, a woman, a gay person, anyone who is not a straight white man. I find it so funny that programming used to be a woman's job because they had them as typists. These niggas didn't even know how to type. It's pussy shit, man. Like, they say stand on your own merits and then want to block everybody from knowing the merits of hella people. It's really like that episode of Rick and Morty where Morty got charged up in that bathroom, that king, and someone trying to gaslight you that did not happen right after that occurred. It's super wild, man. It's super wild. It's got everybody else moving differently. China, Japan, South Korea will jointly respond to U.S. tariffs, Chinese state media says. So I don't know if it's true or not, but that's interesting. The comments came after the three countries held their first economic dialogue in 5 years on Sunday, seeking to facilitate regional trade as the Asian export powers brace against U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. Japan and South Korea are seeking to import semiconductor raw materials from China, and China is also interested in purchasing chip products from Japan and South Korea. All three sides agreed to strengthen supply chain cooperation and engage in more dialogue on export controls. Beijing, Seoul, and Tokyo are major U.S. trading partners, although they have been at loggerheads amongst themselves over issues including territorial disputes and Japan's release of wastewater from the wrecked Fukushima nuclear power plant. You know how insane if that's true? Yes, I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, dog, I've not in my lifetime have I heard some shit like this. Yes. 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 That's a thing that I've been finding out about the hatred between thousands of years of history. So yeah, that's all I got for y'all. I can't think of three countries outside of those three that have had beef for that long. Japan already resents the U.S. for the military base, and it's been a whole issue that U.S. Army members get away with crimes in the area. They have military bases in Japan. A whole lot of assaults and essays get hushed up by the U.S. military there. Everywhere they go. Literally everywhere they go. Literally everywhere they go. Literally everywhere they go. Sometimes the motherfuckers don't even make it out of basic training before they start. And think about the fact that, like, in the last 15 years or so, there's been a lot done in that regard to make things more like for there to be some kind of like effort to make things safer for women in the military. And you got fucking Pete Hegseth, who is one of the people who were like, we shouldn't do that. What are we doing that for? So what is it about the culture of the military being less safe that makes it better? I just want somebody to explain that. Like, I don't know what these people want. The only thing I can look at it as is to ruin things for a lot of people. For what benefit other than your own worldly gain? And unfortunately, that's all some people need. It's a whole lot of ways a whole lot of people could be doing a whole lot of different things. And I feel like that's what we kind of need to be looking at right now in our own ways of how we're going to show up in resistance. And a lot of people are doing that. I think a lot of people are throwing themselves into the things that they enjoy, finding joy in the world, supporting others, defending their own. It's a lot of different ways you can go about it. So there's a lot of room for all that. And I think we all kind of need each other in that regard. Teach each other, reach each other. Because we going to need it. We gonna need it, man. My name is CapnTrippz, man. I really do appreciate y'all so much for coming through. Has been the March 2025 news roundup. We talked a whole lot of things. Is there anything I missed, chat? Let me know. Please let me know in the chat. What happened this month that I missed?